board meeting, Town of East Troy, it's Saturday, March 4th, 2023, 9:31 a.m. Roll call, Parkowski here,
Reyes here.
Church here.
and Supervisor Wales and Walker are excused. We do have a quorum. All right, are our postings all in order for this meeting today,
Yes, they are.
including the Class 1 notice because of the Farner asphalt
Yes, yes, it was.
proposal? Okay. All right, so that's the first item on the agenda is approving a Farner contract for crack filling at the Wilmer's Landing Boat Launch parking lot. And why don't you just refresh us on why it'd be better for them to do it versus us to attempt that?
Yeah, the cracks in the boat launch parking lot are quite large and quite deep. And what they're using for filling it, they have an aggregate in it versus us doing it would just be strictly rubber. So it'd take more material and more money for us to do it than them to do it.
And timing too, they could do it.
Yeah, because it's a boat launch parking lot, they're gonna try and get it done before opening of fishing when it gets really busy. And they could probably get it done in a day where it'd probably take us 3 days.
Okay, gotcha.
But in the future, with that crack filler that we're doing joints,
Yeah, then we can keep on top of it,
okay,
once it's done.
once they fill it and all that,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the size of the void now, that's really the issue.
Yeah, yeah, some of them are 2-3 inches wide and you can't see the bottom of them, so. That's where, with them adding the aggregate to help fill the void.
I'll make a motion, oh, give one.
Do we need, I need the number you have it with you? You do, okay, go ahead.
It doesn't have the job number, all right.
No, cost, I didn't.
Oh, okay. I make a motion that we approve the Farner contract for crack filling at Wilmer's Landing Boat Launch, in the amount of, what is it, $12,200 plus $1,950. Sorry, Kim.
Yeah. They're not doing the striping end of it, though, it's just the crack filling end.
Oh, so just the $12,200.
Yeah,
12,200 is the number? Okay, even, no pennies?
Right.
All right, so we have a motion to approve that contract with Farner. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None, motion carries 3-0.
Do we have an estimated date of when they'll start, or is it weather
They,
dependent?
it's weather dependent, and they're also talking with the salesman, they're thinking in the middle of April.
Okay.
When they, because being a asphalt company, the way they license their trucks and everything, they just start getting everything back and ready to go by the 1st of May, but as far as their crack filling, they start that a little sooner.
Okay.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is authorize Attorney Mills to review the State Trunk Highway 20 State Municipal Agreement with the WSDOT and the intergovernmental agreement with the Village of East Troy. Jim has seen the intergovernmental agreement with the Village of East Troy, but not the state SMA. And I've been doing a little bit more telephone calls on this. And the thing about this here is we did a resolution back in 2016 for exception to Trans 75, where we said there's an absence of need for a sidewalk. In other words, we don't want a sidewalk, we don't need a sidewalk, it's just a cemetery there, and then I think there's one rental property at the corner of ES and 20. So I did talk to the people that maintain the cemetery, and I asked them, I says, well, what kind of issue would you have if you would have to plow snow on that? And he says, well, first of all, he says, we don't have the equipment to do it, we don't want to do it, because he says that what you have there, the highway would scrape their snow and throw it on top of the sidewalk, and it's salt and ice and snow, and then the only place they could blow it would be into the cemetery, which is a big no-no because of all the stone, concrete and stone in the cemetery, the headstones, etc. So he says, yeah, we could do it, but he says, as of right now, we don't do it. If there's a funeral there, it's the responsibility of the funeral home to hire the contractor to, dig the hole and plow the snow. Okay, so they don't even ever plow the roads into the cemetery. And it is in the village, or in the town limits, and we do know that that cemetery, they're in good standing now, but if there would be an issue later on, you know, it would become, or be turned over to the town, which obviously we don't want to do. So there is an issue there. I didn't have a problem with the agreement with the village, because it basically says that they're gonna take care of it. However, we should endeavor to have the property owners, you know, remove the snow. Yeah, we can endeavor, we can't really force them, but I do think if there's a sidewalk there, they will probably do it. But that's not the problem with the state SMA. By signing that state agreement, we would have to, the town would have to maintain the storm sewer, curb and gutter, cut the grass, and have a street sweeping program.
Yeah.
Okay, now, the street sweeping program, well, first of all, any of these things that we don't do in the state's eyes, they would withhold GTA from us. You called it out, as that's a big red flag. It is a big red flag, okay? The grass, it's not a big deal, because they do cut that terrace down at the cemetery, okay? So it's not the grass cutting. But since when should the town be responsible for maintaining the storm sewer or the curb and gutter?
Or
Yeah.
street sweeping.
Or street sweeping on a state trunk highway? It's not a connecting highway. We have no maintenance responsibility now. Why would we take that on? So the elementary question we have before us really now is, number one, do we think we should at least look at it a little further to make sure I'm not missing something, have Jim review it, or just say, no, we're not doing it, this is a bad idea. The downsides, I talked to the maintenance manager that handles Walworth County from the DOT yesterday, and he tried saying things like, well, you know, that storm sewer, it'll probably be 50 years before we have to do anything with it. Well, no, not if it gets plugged, then we gotta, you know, unplug it. And the curb and gutter, I says, you know, we're not gonna be plowing it, the county will, and if they take out a chunk, we'll probably have to replace it. Cutting grass, not a problem. Street sweeping, he says they would enforce that. That's him saying that, they would enforce that. As long as, he said, the bills now, he said, runs through once a year. Don't know if they do or not, okay? I said, well, what are the other things that are bad if we don't sign this? He said, well, it'll probably delay the job. I don't believe that, personally. The job, the person doing utility relocation now and tree removal associated with that, the job's supposed to start July.
Yes.
June bid, July start, and then go, you know, through a year of construction. So I don't think it's a matter of delaying the job, because all the village would do is saying that sidewalk is 1,200 feet that fronts the cemetery up to the intersection of ES, just remove it from the job. Okay, move it from the project. All right, we're out of it. Now, is there something that would have to occur with their environmental document and the planning documents when the job changes by removing something? Possibly. I don't believe it myself though, but it's possible. So if you authorize Jim to do this, he would also have, after reviewing this, he would also then be calling the guy that's gonna sign this, Brian Roper. I called him and he immediately tagged off to the area maintenance guy. He did not talk to me. You would.
I thought I saw an email from you telling someone at the state that we're not gonna approve this.
Oh, I told them, they wanted, after our last board meeting, they wanted an update. Julie Jenks, she's the project manager for the DOT. And what I said on that, I said, we had a meeting. As of right now, we're not gonna sign this. We're having a special meeting today, and we may authorize the attorney to review these documents to look at this further. But I said, as of that meeting, we're not signing it. So that's where I left it.
Did she get a response
No.
to that?
No, just keep them in the loop. Just let me know if anything changes. So that's kind of where we're at. And again, this is not a connecting highway. Connecting highway is a state road highway within a corporate limits where the local municipality takes over maintenance of it, and then they're gonna have the option to legally post signage for parking and no parking and other signage and whatever, but then they get paid from the state for that maintenance. Just like the county gets paid by the state now for maintaining the state road highways. Okay, so Walworth County does state highway 20, 11, whatever, state highways we have in the town.
I have a
Yep.
question. One of the other concerns I had was putting in a sidewalk up to that intersection, there are no crosswalks that will take you across ES, and with a gas station there, that, I wondered about the liability, because A, there's no crosswalks, B, a sidewalk to that intersection promotes people trying to cross that intersection.
Okay, the project will have, ramps and crosswalks encircling the entire intersection. So the job will have the crossings there, it just would be if we don't have this sidewalk, the one at the northwest quadrant wouldn't be active for going west, it could still go south or east, but it could not go west in front of the cemetery. So that would, no, they would build that, they would build that anyway. Now, you gotta remember, at one time, that intersection was supposed to be a roundabout, and the
Right.
public went up in arms saying, we don't want no damn roundabout, blah, 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 and they've redesigned it, and now it's gonna be reconfigured, but it's gonna be a standard intersection with signals like it is now, you know. And by the way, that resolution we did was 2015-06, and we signed it May 11th of 2015. So, you know, that's coming up on 8 years, and we signed it saying, exception, you know, to Trans 75, absence of need. So we got dragged back in this because the village, in looking at their project, said, well, the state will build a sidewalk, why don't we just go ahead and build it? And I said, well, we're not gonna maintain that. Well, we'll do an intergovernmental agreement. So we got the intergovernmental agreement just, I think, a week or two before our last board meeting. Why is that pressure on us now here, number one? And number two, there's no responsibility here, because we already said we didn't want a sidewalk. So, that's where we're at. Do we wanna have Jim take one more look at this, to review both of those, agreements? And then maybe also, maybe talk to Brian Roper and said, you know, there's no, I'm assuming there's gonna be no advantage here for the town, and ask him, well, we don't sign it, what are the repercussions? He has to legally answer that question if he's talking to our town attorney. I believe if I ask him that question, I may get the standard line, which is not, you know.
Well, and I guess, Jim, wouldn't you kind of make sure that the intergovernmental agreement between the village and the town would mirror all of the terms from the state municipal maintenance agreement?
It wouldn't necessarily, but what it should do is reference the state agreement
And it doesn't know.
and say that the village will indemnify and hold the town harmless for any duties in the state contract.
Okay.
But
No,
I reviewed the intergovernmental agreement and it was fine,
has the whole-
not having seen the state one.
Correct.
And I
That's
haven't
the same
put
place
the
I
two
was.
together.
That was the same place that I got, and I read this and going, well, this should mirror that, or make reference to it, or say everything that's in it, you know, is covered in the intergovernmental agreement. He just keeps saying, yeah, that IGA, yeah, yes, that IGA. But the person I talked to, maintenance supervisor, did not go into the weeds as far as what really would happen if we just say, no, we didn't want it, you know, 8 years ago, we don't want it now. You know, Todd, is there anything I missed here from your aspect, maintenance?
It would put a lot more back on us for a cost if the cemetery isn't gonna do anything. And as far
But
as-
this intergovernmental would put that on the village.
But it does say we're to endeavor to have the property owner remove the snow per our ordinance.
But
We have a
all we
sidewalk.
have to do is ask. We fulfilled our obligation.
To endeavor,
True.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, yes, we would ask. Now, would they do it if the sidewalk gets put in? He has a concern about throwing that salt up into the cemetery, and I don't blame him, you know? What kind of fence is that?
Well, what's the village gonna do when they maintain it then?
Well, they probably have to do the same thing. They'd have to throw it up into the cemetery. There's no other place to put snow, right?
They're actually, if you look at Highway 20 right there, it almost looks like it's 3 lanes wide. They're actually going to narrow that up by that third, almost that
So
full
there
third
will be a
lane.
bigger terrace there then.
Yeah, there's gonna be, cause they were concerned about that big old tree that's in front of there. The sidewalk will actually be on the roadside around that, cause they're gonna gain
Yeah,
another
I see
10, 12 feet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there would be more grass in there, and of course, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 driveways in there that go into the cemetery, maybe 7. But yes, the terrace would be wider, and that parking lane that was considered to be a parking lane, which is never used as a parking
No.
lane, would be eliminated, for safety, really.
Yeah,
And then totally reconfigure those islands and the center islands, so.
and then
That's all I have.
The exhibits are part of the state SMA, exhibit A and B. Did you
I
have-
think when I got my copy, I only received
Oh,
And then-
okay, you're gonna need
the
exhibits.
maintenance agreement with no
Is this
attachments
actually
to it.
exhibit A? No.
No,
Oh,
no, it'd be, let's see, do I have,
oh, and exhibit B is the IGA.
yeah, you're gonna need, the exhibits. Do you have a complete copy there, Kim? I have only one here, I can photocopy that.
I do not.
Okay, what I'll do, if the board determines here, we wanna have Jim take one more kick at this.
I think that's in our best interest, given the, withholding road funds is,
Serious.
it's a big deal.
Yeah, I agree. That's one of the few guaranteed revenue streams we got for road
Right.
maintenance, and to jeopardize it for something we originally said no, but, I think, if we're gonna do our due diligence, we should have Jim look at this, and we can say, no, we had our, attorney look at this, and,
I'd like to hear what they say to Jim.
I would like to see what Brian Roper would say to him too. That'd be very interesting. I've worked with him a little bit in the past. I don't know if he remembers me very much, but. Good morning. You can have a seat for this, finishing up our meeting here. We're okay.
Oh.
No, we're okay. We're fine. This is an open meeting.
Didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah, no problem. So anyway, if we think we should have Jim look at this, we need a motion to authorize him to do it as we notice this.
I'll make a motion that we authorize Attorney Mills to review the State Road 20 state municipal agreement with the Wisconsin Department of Transportation, as well as the intergovernmental agreement with the Village of East Troy.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Barb, second by Michelle. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None, motion carries. Okay.
Joe, what is exhibit A and exhibit?
I'll give you, we'll make a copy now. It's the plans. It's the plan profile and the plan view of what they're talking about. And I'll make the copy right now. So we're gonna hold on here until right 10 o'clock. How many people are you expecting? Don't know?
At least two.
I'm gonna pause the recording now.
Yes, please. So we're gonna recess until 10 o'clock. All right.